My name is Jay Park, and this is the story of how I shattered my family's dreams to chase my own. It began with a single moment, one that still haunts me. The night I stood in a Los Angeles banquet hall, surrounded by the Korean community, and rejected a medical school acceptance letter in front of everyone. My parents, seated at the head table, froze. My dad's face like stone, my mom's eyes brimming with tears. "I'm not going to be a doctor," I said, my voice shaking but clear. "I'm going to make films." The room gasped, whispers erupting like wildfire. "You've humiliated us," my dad said later, his voice cold as ice. I didn't care. I was done living their lie. But that night sparked a battle I wasn't ready for. Let me take you back. I grew up in Koreatown, LA, where neon signs for kimchi and karaoke lit up the streets. My parents, Min-soo and Hyejin Park, moved from Seoul in the 90s, building a life from scratch. My dad ran a dry cleaning business, his hands rough from steam presses. My mom taught piano, her fingers dancing over keys for hours. They weren't rich, but they were proud, clinging to Korean values, hard work, respect, success. I was their only son, their ticket to the American dream. From the start, I was the perfect son. Straight A's, math Olympiads, always bowing to elders at church. At home, I was Jaehyun, speaking Korean, eating bulgogi, listening to my dad's lectures about duty. But at school, I was Jay, the kid who loved movies, Spielberg, Scorsese, Park Chan-wook. I'd sneak into theaters, scribble scripts in notebooks, dream of directing. Film was my escape, where I could be me, not the son my parents molded. They had one plan. I'd be a doctor. "It's stable, honorable," my mom would say, her voice soft but firm. My dad was blunt. "Filmmaking, that's for dreamers who starve." To them, my passion was a childish whim, a betrayal of our Korean roots. They wanted me to embody hayo, filial piety, putting family first. But every time I sat through pre-med classes or shadowed doctors, I felt like I was suffocating. The tension built through high school. I was accepted to UCLA, where my parents thought I'd major in biology. Instead, I secretly enrolled in film studies, forging their signatures on forms. My best friend, Sofa, a Latina artist with a firecracker spirit, was my ally. "You're a storyteller, Jay," she'd say, watching my short films. "Don't let them steal that." I knew she was right, but the guilt of lying gnawed at me. The breaking point came in my sophomore year. The Korean Community Center hosted an annual gala where families bragged about their kids' achievements. My parents had boasted about my med school applications, and when I got into UC San Francisco's program, they planned to announce it at the gala. I hadn't told them I'd applied to film grad schools instead, or that I'd been accepted to NYU's Tisch School of the Arts. I tried to avoid the gala, claiming a study group, but my dad insisted. "You will honor us," he said, his voice like steel. I knew I couldn't keep lying. Sophia urged me to tell the truth, but I was scared of their anger, their shame. So I made a reckless choice. I'd tell them at the gala, in front of everyone, where they couldn't ignore me. The night of the event, my stomach churned. I wore a suit, my NYU acceptance letter burning in my pocket. The hall was packed. Uncles in hanboks, aunties in pearls, kids fidgeting. My parents beamed as the MC praised my med school acceptance. When they called me up, I walked to the podium, heart pounding. I saw my mom's proud smile, my dad's nod. Then I spoke. "I'm not going to med school," I said, my voice echoing. "I've been accepted to NYU for filmmaking. That's my path." The room fell silent, then erupted in whispers. My mom's smile vanished. My dad's face darkened. I stepped down, legs shaking as the MC scrambled to move on. Backstage, my dad grabbed my arm. "You've shamed us," he shouted, "in front of our community." "I'm done pretending," I said, pulling away. "I'm not your puppet." My mom's tears hit harder. "Jay, we sacrificed everything for you. Why?" "Because I'm not you," I snapped. I'm not Korean enough for you, but I'm not American enough for the world. I'm me. My dad's voice was ice. Get out, don't come home. I walked away, their pain like a weight on my chest. I crashed at Sophia's, her mom letting me stay. You did something brave, Sophia said, but it felt like betrayal. I'd won my truth, but lost my family. I didn't know how deep that cut would go, or what secret waited to change everything. I thought rejecting med school in front of the Korean community would set me free, but it didn't. It built a wall between me and my parents, one I didn't know how to climb. My dad's words, "Don't come home," rang in my ears, and my mom's tears burned worse than any argument. I was Jae, chasing my films, but also Jae-hyun, the son who'd shamed his family. The community whispered about me, uncles shaking their heads at church, aunties gossiping over kimchi. My parents bore the shame, their pride crushed. I felt guilty, but I pushed it down. They wanted a doctor. I wanted to be me. Life at home was over. I stayed at Sophia's, her mom letting me crash on their couch. You stirred the pot, mijo, she said, tossing me a blanket. Now what? I didn't know. My dad's ultimatum felt final, but I was too stubborn to beg. Sophia was my lifeline. You're a visionary, Jay, she'd say, editing my short films. Keep going. Her faith kept me moving, but it couldn't fill the hole my family left. School was my escape. I threw myself into UCLA's film program, shooting projects, writing scripts. My latest short, a gritty drama about a kid torn between worlds, got buzz in class. Sophia posted it online and it hit 20,000 views, with comments like, "This is raw," and "Who's this director?" It felt good, but every view reminded me of my parents' silence. They hadn't called, and I hadn't either. Then came a break. Sophia's cousin, Diego, worked at a small production company in Hollywood. He'd seen my short and offered me a chance to pitch a feature script to his boss, a low-budget indie producer. "You got talent, Jay," he said over tacos, "but you gotta nail this pitch. It's a long shot." It was my dream, a real film, my name on the credits. But the pitch was the same weekend as my parents' 25th anniversary party, a big deal in our community. My mom had texted begging me to come. "It's for your dad. Please, Jae-hyun." I was torn. The pitch was my shot. The party was their heart. I tried compromising, attend the party, pitch later, but Diego said the producer was leaving town. "It's now or never," he warned. I couldn't tell my parents the truth. They'd never get it. So I lied, saying I had a mandatory film project. My mom sounded skeptical, but my dad didn't reply. I hated the lie, but I needed this chance. The day of the pitch, I stood in Sophia's apartment practicing my script in a borrowed blazer. My phone buzzed with my mom's texts. "Party's starting, where are you?" I muted it, nerves on fire. Sophia drove me to the production office, a cramped space with posters of B-movies. I pitched my story, a Korean-American teen defying tradition for art. The producer leaned forward, nodding. "It's fresh, he said, "Send me a draft, we might fund this." I left buzzing like I'd touched the stars. But my high crashed when I checked my phone. A voicemail from my dad, voice shaking. "You lied again, Jay. Someone saw you at that office. You're no son of mine." Someone from church must have spotted me. I looked at Sophia, who'd heard it. "You're in deep," she said. I stayed at her place, too scared to face them. The next day, my mom texted, "You hurt us, Jae-hyun. Come home." Guilt hit, but so did anger. They'd never supported my films. Why should I grovel? I worked on my script, but my parents' faces haunted me. Then my aunt, Minji, called. "I'm not picking sides," she said, "but your dad's a wreck. He's quiet, not himself. They miss you." Her words shook me. I'd been so mad I hadn't seen their pain. "They want a doctor, not me," I said. "They're scared," she said. "Talk to them." I hung up, her words sticking like a stubborn frame in my edit. Scared? My dad? The rock who built a business from nothing? It didn't add up, but it made me wonder. That night, I rewrote my script, adding a softer arc, a kid finding peace with his roots. Sophia watched me type. "That's you, Jay," she said. "That's real." I didn't know a storm was coming, one that would force me to face my family, and a secret that would rewrite everything I thought I knew. I thought walking away from my family would be my victory, but it felt like defeat. Every script I wrote carried their absence, my dad's anger, my mom's tears. I was Jay, chasing my films, but also Jae-hyun, the son who'd broken their pride. I stayed at Sophia's, her couch my temporary home. "You can't hide forever," her mom said, handing me coffee. She was right, but my dad's words, "You're no son of mine," cut too deep to go back. I buried myself in work. The production company loved my pitch and greenlit a script draft, a chance to make my first feature. Diego, my contact, pushed me. "Make it personal, Jay," he said. My short film online was nearing 50,000 views, with comments like, "This dude's got vision." Sophia was hyped, but success felt hollow. My parents hadn't reached out, and the Korean community shunned us. Gossip about Min-soo's ungrateful son spread like wildfire. Then came a jolt. I got a text from my aunt, Min-ji. "Jay, your mom's in the hospital, collapsed at work. Come to Cedars-Sinai." My stomach dropped. My mom was 46, healthy, always playing piano late into the night. It didn't add up. Sophia drove me through LA traffic, my mind racing. My mom's sad eyes, my dad's cold voice, the lies I'd told. At the hospital, my dad sat in the waiting room, face gray, hands clenched. He saw me and stood, eyes raw. "She's stable," he said, voice flat. "Exhaustion, stress, they're keeping her overnight." Guilt hit like a truck. "Is it because of me?" I asked, voice breaking. He didn't answer, just looked away. My aunt pulled me aside. "It's not just you," she said. "Your mom's been struggling. Work, the community, your dad. They're hurting, Jay." Her words stung. I'd been so caught up in my fight, I hadn't seen their pain. "Can I see her?" I asked. My dad nodded, leading me to her room. My mom lay in bed, pale, an IV in her arm. She smiled weakly when she saw me. "Jae-hyun," she whispered. "You came." "I'm sorry," I said, tears falling. "I didn't mean to hurt you." "Not your fault," she said, squeezing my hand. "We pushed you too far. I just wanted you to be safe." I wanted to explain, to tell her how films were my air, but I just held her hand, her fingers cold. My dad watched, silent. For a moment, I felt a spark of hope, like we could mend this. But the next day, my mom was stronger, joking about hospital food, while my dad stayed distant. When we were alone, he said, "Jay, we need to talk. About your mom, why this happened. It's bigger than you know." I braced for a lecture, but a nurse interrupted, checking charts. My dad shut down, the moment gone. I left the hospital confused, his words nagging. Bigger than me? What was he hiding? Back at Sophia's, I worked on my script, pouring my guilt into a new scene, a son facing his mom's pain. Diego read it and nodded. "This is gold, Jay. It's real." The company set a deadline for the draft, but it clashed with my mom's discharge party, a small family gathering my aunt was hosting. My dad texted, "She needs you here, Jae-hyun." I was split. The script was my future. My mom's collapse was my fault. I told Diego, expecting him to push the deadline. "Family's everything," he said. "We'll wait." I paced Sophia's apartment, replaying my dad's words. "It's bigger." Min-ji had hinted at something too. I called her. "Your mom's been carrying a lot," she said. "Ask your dad, he knows." I didn't want to ask, scared of what I'd hear, but it gnawed at me. The script was due, the party loomed, and my parents' secret felt like a shadow over every frame. I had to choose, my dream or my family. I didn't know one truth would rewrite the story I thought I knew. The day before the script deadline, I was at Sophia's, laptop open, my film notes scattered. My dad's text burned. "Your mom's coming home tomorrow. Be there." Sophia caught me staring at it. "Go, Jay," she said. "You'll hate yourself if you don't." She was right. My new script scene, a son facing his mom's pain, had stirred something. I couldn't move forward without facing them. I texted my dad I'd come for my mom's homecoming. He replied, "Good." I didn't mention the script, too messy. Diego was cool when I asked for an extension. "Family first," he said. "We'll wait." As I packed, I felt like I was gambling my dream, but my mom's pale face in that hospital bed weighed heavier. Home smelled of soy sauce and memory. My aunt greeted me, hugging tight. "She's in the living room," she said. "Be gentle, Jay." My mom sat on the couch, a shawl around her, looking frail but smiling. My dad stood nearby, eyes tired. "I had to be," I said, sitting close, hands shaky. Silence settled, heavy with our fights. I wanted to apologize, but my dad spoke. "We need to talk," he said, voice low. "About your mom, why she's like this. It's my fault." "Your mom was an artist," he said, eyes on her. In Seoul, she painted, had gallery shows, a real talent. I was a businessman, practical. When we married, I made her give it up. Said it wasn't stable, not for a family. She did it for me, for you, but it broke her. She's been carrying that loss, and our fights about you, it brought it all back.